It's another time at Tell Me the Stories of Jesus. It's nice to see you again. It's Dr. Abby, your friend. And guess what we're going to talk about today? How many of you can remember the story of Jacob and Esau? The twins. Can you remember? It's in Genesis chapter 27. Yes, you can remember. That's when Esau, the older twin, he sold his birthright for a bowl of beans and stew and bread. Oh my, oh my. And then remember how Jacob then tricked their father and got all Esau's blessing. And Esau was so sad. He was so angry. And he told his father, bless me too. But then, he really couldn't do the type of blessing that you will give to a firstborn child. Remember, if you can't, or if you missed that episode, if you go back on our YouTube channel, Tell Me the Stories of Jesus with Dr. Abby, you'll be able to see it. So then we move on. In Genesis chapter 27 from verse 41. Now remember, Esau's birthright had been taken. His blessing had been taken. He was the older twin. He was so angry. He was not happy at all. And remember, their father was getting old. Their father, Isaac, and their mother's name, Rebekah. And so Esau said, when my father dies, I'm going to kill Jacob. That was how angry he was, really angry. I'm going to kill him. And I guess he had told a number of people, because Rebekah heard, and Rebekah was afraid. Remember, we don't play favorites, and Isaac and Rebekah had favorites. Yes, Jacob was Rebekah's favorite. And so Rebekah called Jacob and said, you have to run, run, because Esau wants to kill you. Once your father is dead, he says he's going to kill you. So I want you to pack your things and run. Go to my brother's house. My brother's name is Laban. Go there for a while, and I'll tell you when Esau is no longer angry and you can come back home. So Jacob packed all his things and he left the house. How sad. He left everything behind and he was going and going and going. And at some point he was tired. You can imagine, he was really tired. And so he took a stone, he put the stone down, he used it as a pillow, and he slept. I'll tell you what happened when he slept, when I wake up. He slept just like me, very tired. Oh, what? Wow! Do you know what happened? Whilst Jacob was sleeping, tired, he saw a ladder. A ladder came to where he put the stone and he laid his head. And what did he see? He saw angels going up and down, into the sky, into the heaven. So he told himself, this must be a place where God is. For angels to come up and down, God must be here. And you know what? God spoke to him even as he slept, and God promised him. God promised him that he will keep him, he will bless him, he will help him, he will go in peace and come back in peace, happy. And Jacob was so grateful to God for that revelation. And you know what he did? He used that stone and he used it to make like an altar, a place of worship to God. And he called that place Bethel. And at that time, he then had the reassurance that God was with him. God was going with him. Even if Esau was angry with him, God was not angry with him. And so he continued and went to where Laban was in Paran. Now, when he got there, he got to the edge of the city and he saw many damsels with the sheep. They were bringing the sheep to the well to water them, to give them water to drink. So they were shepherdess. That's what you call them, yeah? And one of them was Rachel. And so Jacob went to the ladies there and said, I'm asking for Laban. Laban is my uncle. And they told him, oh, that's Laban's daughter, Rachel. And you know, Jacob approached her, very pretty lady. Pretty. And so he went home with her. She ran home to tell her father, I found my cousin. And the father came, and the father took Jacob home, and the father took care of him, and Jacob stayed with his uncle for 1 month. Now I'm going to tell you some things that happened after that. It used to happen then, long ago. You know, we're talking thousands and thousands of years ago. It doesn't happen now because things have evolved and things have changed, okay? So just follow the story, follow the learning points, the morale, but some things there don't happen again. So after a month, Laban now told Jacob, you've been doing so well, you've been working so hard. You know, what do you want from me? How do I pay you for all this hard work? And Jacob said, you know what? Can I work for 7 years free of charge for you? And at the end of that year, the 7th year, you will give me Rachel as my wife. And so Laban said, that's fine. And Jacob worked hard for 7 years. After 7 years, it was time for the wedding. But do you know what happened? Laban played a quick one on Jacob. And instead of giving Jacob Rachel, the younger daughter, because he had 2 daughters, he gave Jacob, he disguised, he covered the older one to look like the younger one, and gave to Jacob Leah, the older sister, as the wife. And when Jacob woke up the next morning after the wedding, he was like, whoa, no, it's Rachel I'm in love with, not Leah. Why did you do this to me? And then Laban said, according to our culture, the older one has to get married before the younger one. If you work for me another 7 years, I'll give you Rachel now, but you'll work free of charge for me another 7 years. And because Jacob loved Rachel, it was Rachel he loved, he worked another 7 years. And God was with him, and everything he did prospered. And you know, Laban, his uncle, started to feel threatened. So many times he will change the wages he's supposed to give to Jacob. So at times, maybe if Jacob is supposed to own all the, let's say the spotted animals, there is a way his uncle will change things. But God was always with Jacob, and God will make sure that whatever they decide that Jacob was going to have, that was what they had a lot of. So Jacob was richer and richer and richer. And at the end of the day, I told you there's some things that happened then, they don't happen now. It was allowed way back then. Jacob had 4 wives, yeah? He had 4 wives, and Leah had 4 children. Another one had 2 sons. Another one had 2 sons. And Rachel, it took her a long time. And it's Rachel that Jacob really likes. It took her a long time. But after a while, God had mercy on her. She also had 2 boys, Joseph and Benjamin. And Jacob loved them a lot because it was Rachel, their mom, that he really loved of all the 4 wives. But a time came and he said, you know what? Laban is not being really nice to me again. My uncle is not being nice to me again. I need to go back home. And remember when he was sleeping and he had that vision, God had told him he was going to come back. So he packed all his things. Laban didn't want him to go. But one day when Laban was not around, he had told his wives, they had packed everything, and they ran. They fled back home. On the way, Laban caught up with them, but there was a way God had told Laban, you must not hurt Jacob. I love him. You must not do anything bad to him. And then they settled their differences, they made up, and they were friends. So they parted as friends. They were family members, and they parted as friends, not enemies. And Jacob continued. Guess what? That's how he heard that Esau was ahead. Remember Esau he was running from. Now Esau is ahead. Jacob was scared. I mean, he was so scared. He sent gifts ahead. He sent his wives, his children, anything to appease Esau. And before he met Esau, he slept again at night. And then he wrestled. He wrestled with someone he wrestled all night. That means he fought with someone all night. And then he held on to the person. He said, I won't let you go. I suspect that you are God. I won't let you go. You must be an angel of God. You must be from God. And he held the person and wrestled until the person blessed him. I mean, the person blessed him so much. The person said so many lovely things about his future, how he's going to be great. His children will be great. They'll become a big nation. And then the person changed his name and said, you will no longer be called Jacob. You'll be called Israel. And that's where Israel arose from. He was blessed and his name was changed because, as Jacob, he was a trickster. He was somebody who would, take your birthright. For example, trick his father. It was about time that God will turn things around for him and change his name. And after that, what happened? He went forward and he met Esau. He thought Esau was going to hurt him. No, again, families making up, in a friendly way. They hugged, they cried, and they were friends. And that was so good. So that brings me to the end of my story. This story of Jesus that we've talked about today, remember, it spans from Genesis 27, verse 41, and it goes over several chapters. I think until we get to about chapter 36. Take time and read. Don't just take everything Dr. Abby tells you for it. Go back to the Bible and study. And before I round up, let's go back and learn a few lessons, okay? 1, Esau was so angry and he wanted to kill his brother. No, we shouldn't be that angry. What has happened has happened. If you spill milk on the floor, you wipe it. You can't gather it back into the cup. It's not going to be clean again for you to drink. Don't cry over spilt milk. Don't dwell over it. Ask God to heal you. Ask God to forgive you. After all, God forgave Jacob. As he was going, God met with him when he was sleeping. God promised him lovely things. If it were human beings, you will be like, Jacob is the bad boy. We're never ever going to give him anything nice. But God promised him lovely, nice things going forward. So God forgives. When you're angry with anybody, when anybody has hurt you, run back to God. Yeah? And remember, we've always discussed before also, there are consequences. God forgives, but then at times he will make you face some consequences so that you know never to do it again and you know how it feels. So Laban, his uncle, also cheated him. My, oh my, he knew how it felt. Imagine working another 7 years. 7 years takes you from nursery to primary 6. That's a long time to have to work all over again for the same thing that you asked for from the beginning. Yeah? So, there are consequences to anything bad that we do. Also, be hardworking. Jacob was always hardworking. Even though he was with his uncle, he continued to work hard. He was a hardworking man. And remember, families, no matter, you will always thread each other's toes. You will fall apart. You fight with your brother, fight with your sister. Mommy tells you off, you're not happy. Auntie does not give you the type of Christmas present you want, you're not happy. But remember, as children of God, as family, as much as it lies within us, the Bible says, We should be at peace with all men. Be at peace with your family. The Bible says how good and pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. Laban and Jacob, they made up. Jacob and Esau, they made up. And as long as you live right with God also, see, God visited Jacob a second time, imagine, and blessed him and changed his name. You know, so those are the lessons that I want us to learn. Genesis from chapter 27, verses 41 onwards. Until the next time, we're going to continue on stories of Jesus, and we'll continue about Jacob and the family. Remember I told you about all the boys that he had, 12 boys. Imagine a house full of 12 boys. We're going to talk about that next time when we meet. Till then, be good. Bye-bye.